Could it be done? They would have said, it isn't possible. You can't do it. A handful of people can't take on the major corporations of America. But we did it because we didn't know it couldn't be done.
Pat Greathouse grew up on a farm in the Midwest. He learned at an early age that people could solve problems by working together. That principle guided his working life. In the late 1930s, Greathouse went to work at the Ford Motor Company's Chicago assembly plant. As a charter member of Local 551, he served as committeeman. His leadership earned him an appointment to the international staff in 1943, where he contributed to the important work of building the union. Pat was a tough-minded trade unionist who never hesitated to fight for what he believed in. He became a staunch supporter of Walter Reuther during Reuther's bid for the presidency of the UAW in 1946.
Our regional director had said that he was going to be neutral and so on, but when we got to the convention, we found out that they had committed our region in a block to the Thomas Addis group. I disagreed with that, and I chaired a caucus to support the Reuther forces. We split the region right down the middle. When I got home and I got fired from staff.
When he was elected director of Region 4 in 1947, Greathouse moved quickly to bring workers together. His goals were to coordinate bargaining issues, educate the members, and build solidarity in the region.
I was given the responsibility in 1948 of going out and completing the organization in the farming industry. They bargained plant by plant. They didn't even have anything to do with each other. And I said, how are we going to pull these people together so that they start working together? You couldn't get blacks and whites meeting in the same place. You couldn't get the facility. So we bought this place.
Delegates to the 1956 Constitutional Convention elected him as an international vice president, and President Reuther put him in charge of the union's organizing and Ag Imp departments, where he helped craft the union's vision for the future.
A union that's worth its salt has to look at the problems not only of yesterday and today, but anticipate the problems of tomorrow and find ways of solving those problems.
As director of the Ag Imp department, Greathouse built a reputation as one of the most innovative bargainers in the labor movement. He pioneered the concept of pattern bargaining, lifted the cap on cost of living for skilled trades, established the first dental plan and the first year-long disability pay. Under his leadership, the Christmas week shutdown was instituted.
In Caterpillar in 1967, we negotiated the full week shutdown between Christmas and New Year's. We then moved over and did it also in Deere and in Harvester.
Of all his accomplishments, Greathouse was proudest of the Ottawa Education Center he purchased in Ottawa, Illinois, the first of its kind in the labor movement. Purchased in 1948, 21 years before Black Lake, the center is a place where the values Greathouse envisioned are put into practice. People coming together for their common good.
The UAW in this area, this general area, didn't really start organizing until the early 40s when you got into the defense program. There were a few local unions in the early 40s, Locomotive in Chicago, Ford plant in 41, the locals in Rockford, one or two in North Chicago, down in the Quad Cities. Waterloo came in about that time. But it really wasn't until after the war. And there was considerable confusion when the armament plants closed down, the large plants, which had really boomed during the war period. We had 25,000 people in the Dodge Chicago plant, 79th and Cicero. We had 15,000 people in Martin Bomber up where now is O'Hare Airport. We had numbers of people like that went down, and then we started the matter of the rebuilding in the period after the war. In 1948, we picked up the Caterpillar plant in Peoria and the Alice Chalmers plant in Springfield. We had the plant down in Fairfield, Illinois, and the GM plant over at Danville. And we picked up the Deere plants in Dubuque and then Des Moines, and numbers of other plants around the circuit. And we had to try to figure out how do we put the union back together. We had operated in little islands independently. We didn't know each other. There was no camaraderie between the unions. There was disagreement. what do we do? During the war, for the first time, women had been hired into the war plants. Blacks had been hired into a number of plants that they weren't before. After the war, many people were trying to get rid of them. When I was first elected in '47, this region also took in Wisconsin. We had the auto plants up in Kenosha, Racine, and Milwaukee. And they had contracts that said, if a woman working in the plant gets married, she loses her seniority. One of the first problems I had when I was elected in '47, when those contracts come up, was refused to approve those contracts, make them take out that provision. But that's how much different it was. The same things on blacks. Even in Chicago, you couldn't go into a restaurant. In many instances, you go around back to even get a bag of barbecued ribs. I remember in 1948, we held the first interracial bowling tournament in the UAW in Chicago. And we took weeks and weeks before we could find a bowling alley where we could have an interracial bowling tournament. And finally found one on the second floor, up on Randolph Street, just a little bit east of Dearborn. As we approached the 49th convention, when we were going to change the regions, we were going to first make Region 10, bring all of Illinois, which had been in Region 3, the southern part, into Region 4. So we figured, how are we going to pull our people together so they get to know each other? And we looked around and we found this place. We thought it was ideally located, 2 hours drive from over 80% of the membership of our union, Chicago, Rockford, Quad Cities, Peoria, Danville, Springfield, so people could get here and get in and out in one day. Well, at the convention in Milwaukee in '49, I raised it with the delegates. The delegates said, let's go by it. We found the place, and we got the local unions to contribute money, raise money locally, pay for it and buy it. The place was ours, all we had to do was go to work. And so we did work. We had the dedication on Labor Day of 1949. It was on Saturday before that Labor Day that we were building the picnic benches when I cut my fingers off. There was the West Annex out there. We took the division out of the rooms and made a little hall. And there we would hold our regional meetings, our regional conferences. We got a jukebox. This was a gambling town then. I didn't tell anybody. We got a half a dozen even slot machines put out there and make a little extra change. And we would get some booze. We would have a party on Saturday night because we couldn't take a mixed group into town. We had to get them used to us being here first. So, but we brought our people together. So the people in Waterloo could know the people in the foundries in Chicago. And the people in Chicago could know the people in Fairfield and Peoria and all the other. Pulling this together so we could start, rather than acting independently, to act as an individual unit. And we worked that way on a volunteer operation until, as a matter of fact, until 1956, when I was moved into Detroit as the vice president. Bob Johnson was elected here as the regional director. Bob then in '57 moved to get a per capita tax from the local unions, tore down the old buildings there and built the new motel, and moved to clear up beyond that and to improve. So it is not the matter of individuals and so on, but as an institution. As an institution, this place has, in my opinion, done as much or more to pull the people in this region together than any other thing, along with the regional directors always being available, as they have been, down here to meet and to talk to you. The union is only a vehicle through which working men and women work together to solve their common problems. We've got to continue educating the membership of our local unions, educating the leadership of our local unions, educating our staff. And we've all got to work. Yes, and I say to all of us retirees who are here, we've got to continue to work to do our part.
The Ottawa Training Center was renamed in 1963 in honor of late President John F. Kennedy.
Also is a member of the advisory board for the retirees. Asked for a point of special privilege. I'm going to ask him, come on. Chuck?
I speak better from the floor. I think they can all hear me. I come from the old shop where you had to get up on the table and holler. But as I sat here and looked at that 45 years of their anniversary, I think today we should do something in this meeting that after today we can remember for years to come. I, for years, have thought that Pat Greathouse has not got the respect and honor that we deserve him. In regard to this center, I'm just sitting here thinking, I wish we could have had all the people that went through this center. We would have a line about 14 feet from here to Detroit that went through this center and got educated. So I think that from this day on, I put a motion on the floor, that from this day on, this center be renamed and give the honor and respect to Pat Greathouse that he solely deserves.
If there is approval for that motion, I'm sure we've got enough votes to make it happen. Do we have support?
Support, yes.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
During a conference held at the center in 1994, the delegation had a surprise in store for Greathouse.
Just to show you how organized we are, Chuck Anderson. See, a little planning goes a long way. You're right.
There's been many times in my life I speechless. I feel like a lot of things to say. I just turned to Dick Schumacher and I said, "Did you know about this?" He said, "Yes." I have to admit, there hasn't been too many times in this union I've been surprised. This happens to be the one. Well, I can't really say thanks to you enough. This is a part of my life, big part of my life. I tell you today that I consider this one of the greatest honors of my life. Thank you very much.
First of all, I'd like to thank all you guys coming in today. I really appreciate it. We know the importance of what we have here at the center, but for me it was the point that we needed to record some of the history of this place and how much it means to this membership in the region. So I thought today we'd have Dick Shoemaker go ahead and start it off by just kind of asking some questions and getting our thoughts going, and then we'll just have a nice discussion about what this place means to each and every one of us, and so we can let the new members and the continuing members understand how important this facility is to all of us.
Like Bill said, you know, when you come up here first, you look at the setting, and but this environment here, it was so well established. Probably some of my greatest friendships were formed right here at the Pat Greathouse Center. People from all over the United States, and quite frankly, probably some people from around the world that you brought here or you met here in just the summer schools alone. When you see that first-time person, that person that came up for the first time, their experience grows, their knowledge grows. And then later on, you see them and they're either a committeeman or a president or an executive board member or a chairperson of the local union. It puts a smile on your face because it all started for them right here. So,
can you share with us your personal memories and experiences with Pat?
You know what? I seen that question when Ron sent them over to me so I could refresh my memory. And how do you sum up Pat? I think the way I would do it is Detroit had Walter Reuther. Region 4 had Pat.
yeah.
That's very well said.
Yeah.
But he was an amazing man. He was very innovative, and I learned a lot from him. I don't think that I'd ever been director had I not had the experience in negotiating with him and you.
Dick, you probably worked with him close as anybody. I mean, What do you keep? What's your memory?
He was a fantastic trade unionist, there's no question about that, a great humanitarian. He was the best labor negotiator in the country, in my opinion, for many, many years, as long as he was vice president and director of the UAW. He was amazing to watch at the bargaining table. I worked with him for 11 and a half years before he retired. And we did a lot of negotiations during that period of time. And he always had the courage to pursue those things he knew were in the best interest of the membership, even during the periods of time when there was debate within the union about whether or not those were the things that were right. He was convinced they were right and pursued them relentlessly once he became convinced. I've sat at the bargaining table with a lot of great labor leaders. I've never sat at the bargaining table with a labor leader that was any better at negotiations than Pat Greathouse.
Well, we're at the Pat Greathouse Memorial, and actually during the time that Pat used to come down to the center of the later years, he spoke to me about that his time was limited and that he had made a decision that he was not going to take the therapy because he wanted to live a full life. So that it's very important, this monument to us, and we wanted generations after us to be able to come here, ask who Pat Greathouse was, and get what the meaning was to be here at this center and what we do here.
We lost Pat in 2005 after a long and courageous battle with cancer. The memorial stands today as a tribute to our great friend.
I think the neat thing about it that continues on, Dennis, is, you know, it's outside here, but every summer school, every major conference that we have, if people want to take a picture and they want to be remembered for this place, it's the same thing. They know this is a symbol of the place. They come out, they assemble around it, and they take a picture. It's like a class picture almost that they get done with every conference. So it gives them a lasting memory too, I believe, to go away from the center, whether it's their first time or their last time here, that it kind of draws roots back to the place, so it's a great deal.
In 2005, when Pat passed away, we dedicated it and unveiled it to his family, friends, and the leadership. It was an important moment then, and I think it's still an important moment today.
The Pat Greathouse Education Center has remained one of the finest training facilities in the country, each succeeding regional director taking great pride in Pat's vision and legacy.
It's my honor to dedicate this memorial to its founder, Pat Greathouse. We're going to now turn on the internal light, so everybody here will remember our friend.
The Pat Greathouse Education Center has undergone many changes over the years, but the one thing that remains today is the vision of one of the greatest trade unionists of our time, Pat Greathouse.
Every time you come here to a meeting or anything else, you can rest assured Pat is here with you, and he will be here.